I've got lots of small starter or baby trees in this area, and there's a small white oak right there, and there's a couple maples out here pretty close to it, and there's a sassafras about 3 feet away, and there's a hickory right underneath this tripod. So there is a good diversity of trees in this area, but white oak and hardwoods are very prevalent in this area of the eastern woodlands, and today we're going to talk about the white oak. Morning folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and today in our Materia Medica series we're going to discuss the white oak. And I have a small white oak sapling here beside me, and the easiest way really to tell the difference between the white and the red oaks, and there are several different species of oak, is that most of your white oaks have rounded lobes on the leaves and your red oaks are pointed. So think about a point drawing blood or pricking you, and that will tell you that the pointed leaves are the red oak and the lobed rounded leaves are the white oak. Both of them are medicinal. The white oak is a better medicinal for what we're speaking to in this series as far as on-the-fly type treatments for common ailments. White oak is actually such an adaptable plant as far as medicine goes for the woodsman that I've chosen to use it as one of the very few items that's in what I'm calling the Woodsman's Apothecary. We'll talk more about that in later videos and a little bit about it today as well. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the white oak and the properties of the white oak and how you can use it for common ailments in short-term scenarios. Stay with me. Okay, so let's speak to the white oak real quick as far as what we can use this tree for on the fly. Now, white oak has been said to be good for anything from the head down to the neck, and it's a little bit better than that. It can be used for a few other things as well, but if you think about the things that are going to go wrong in your head and neck area, congestion, white oak bark decoctions are good for that. If you've got a headache, certain types of headaches, white oak bark is good for because it's an astringent, so it's going to shrink things down so that you don't have that pulsing type headache from swollen veins in your head. Sore throat, it's got some properties in it that are antiseptic as well as the astringency, so it's good for sore throat, especially strep type throat. It's also good for sore gums, loose teeth, and ulcers within the mouth. So you can make a decoction of that bark and you can use it as a mouthwash or a gargle, and it will help for that as well. If you have bleeding on your face, shallow capillary type bleeding that bleeds very profusely, you can also use it as a styptic in powdered form or the leaves to help stop that bleeding. So there are lots and lots of things that we can use this white oak bark for. And that is one of the reasons that I've included it in this longer term kit that I call the Woodsman's Apothecary. And this Woodsman's Apothecary that I'm trying to develop, that I've about finished up now, is a kit that you would carry into a camp, and it's not a first aid kit necessarily because it doesn't have the bandages and all of those things within it. What it has in it are the medicines. So this is basically your medicine cabinet for a little bit longer term. And some of these things are readily available to replenish in the woods over time. It's not something you could replenish right now because they're ground barks, nut hulls, and things like that that have to be dried and then ground up into a fine powder. But white oak is one of the very few things that's in this kit, and I've only got 4 bottles in here this size. I've got a few other things in the kit as well, but there are 4 main amber plastic BPA-free bottles in here, and one of them contains 6 ounces of white oak. And the reason for that is that ground white oak bark can be used for so many things, and it's already ground down into a fine powder, so now it lends itself to something I can use as an immediate paste or poultice on something, as well as something that readily makes an easy decoction very quickly because I've increased the surface area of that material by grinding it up into powdered form. And we'll talk more about this Woodsman's Apothecary and what's inside here in future videos. But the important part of that to realize is that white oak was one of the very few things I chose to put into this kit, even though it's readily available. in a ground and dried form because it's so adaptable to so many different things. So what I want you to realize from this video is that the white oak is probably one of the best trees that you can understand in the eastern woodlands. You need to learn to identify it in all seasons of the year. Again, if you know it's an oak and you cut it open, you're not sure if it's a red or a white oak. If you cut it open, the red oak is going to be red on the inside of the bark, and the white oak is going to be white. So as long as you know you've got an oak tree, you can tell the difference between the red oak and the white oak that way if you are in an emergency scenario. But all oaks contain tannins. So any oak would work for a quick and dirty chewed up poultice or masticated poultice that you put on a wound to protect it and help it to stop bleeding, and the astringent properties of that tannin are going to work no matter what color oak it is. But white oak is the better choice for the variability of things that it can accomplish compared to the red oak. Okay folks, well I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and I appreciate you joining me today for this quick video review on white oak in our Materia Medica series. And remember, when you're thinking about white oak, think about things that take place basically from the neck up. Any type of immediate care that you might need, whether it be a loose tooth, a sore tooth, a mouth ulcer, a sore throat, a headache, bleeding, any of those things that occur here can be addressed with white oak. And I think that it's very important for us to understand trees, again, because they're a four-season resource and because there are so many things that trees can do for us. Tree medicine, to me, is my favorite study of herbalism because there's so many things that the trees are capable of that most people have forgotten about the trees, and everybody concentrates on the plants. But what they don't realize is the trees are here in all four seasons, and the majority of the time you're using the roots or the bark of that tree for the medicine. There are times you're going to use the nut hulls or the leaves, but the majority of medicines that are made from trees are made from the barks and the roots, which are available in all four seasons. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business, for all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.